Well, it certainly is a great circuit, but getting a kart running smoothly and at 100% is an almost never-ending trial and error process for both mechanic and driver. So earlier on, I caught up with someone who could tell me just how to get things tweaked perfectly for this demanding weekend. One thing that viewers and people might not understand is that each circuit has its own demands, and those demands will make a difference to how you set up the kart, and presumably kart setup is key.
Yeah, well, it is key. What we always tend to do depends on where we go in the country. We always arrive with just a bog standard kart, just as it arrives, you know, from the importer. We start with, like I say, a base setup, and then we just look at, you know, what the weather conditions will be, you know, whether it's hot, cold. But basically, this weekend we've really worked on, say, gearing. We know what engines we are going to run because most of them are all dynos. But then, as you can see now, the driver's not happy with one particular engine, so we swap back to the other. But with the heat, you know, we do a lot of carburation. So the little carburetor on the front of the engine just determines how much fuel it's getting, whether it's running too lean or too rich. So a lot of it is done with the carburetor, and we just go by the data, what we see with the exhaust temps. And like I say, you can change so much on a car. You know, you'll see around that they've all got different wheels on. Just changing the wheels can give the car different grip. You know, you've got your cast or your camber on the front, whether it gives it more front, less front. And on this particular kart, this driver likes short wheelbase. So we even changed all the bearing hangers and make the kart shorter. You know, there is, I think, a couple of other drivers have gone for the short wheelbase option as well. Some of them don't notice the difference, or that it's not for them. And the ride height as well. But yeah, it is non-stop with the axles. People just think we put, you know, there's just one axle. There's lots of different axles, stiffnesses, lengths. Some of the boys up there have been moving the seats back and forth. We've tried different exhaust pipes, they're all the same, but you might just find one gives you slightly more bottom. It is non-stop, yeah.
That's fantastic, and I think again what people won't realise is the tolerances of adjustment and the difference that can make. You've just mentioned ride height, and everyone just assumes that you're probably sitting an inch off the floor in one of these things, but it could be half an inch, could be an inch, could be more than an inch, and it makes a real difference.
It makes, even like I say, when I say about the wheelbase, we've gone 5 mil shorter. The driver can feel it, but then you can physically see it or see it on the data. The change of direction is much better through the twisty sections. But don't get me wrong, we do get it wrong. The carburetor is, you know, certainly in this heat, like it's getting warmer. You know, do we go a little bit lean or do we leave it? Because if we get it wrong, we can go from having one of the fastest karts on the grid to we could be 2-3 tenths off. Tyre pressures, we kind of got there with the tyre pressures, but depending on the size of the kid as well, like you might find that this little lad's got slightly more pressure in his tyres than a taller driver. So yeah, it's just people. Yeah, they're not like your corporate karts where, you know, they're just left alone. They're just non-stop maintenance. Yeah.
And the amazing thing is now these days, again, everything is shown in the data because it all shows on the stopwatch, and every driver has got the data and the stopwatch on the steering wheel. So you can see what's working.
You can see with everything. You can see how long they're off the throttle for, how long they're on the throttle for. You know, like you'll have a particular driver that get an engine a lot hotter than another driver, and it's because he's off the throttle for so short a distance, then back on it, it generates more heat, you know, in the exhaust, and then you've got like the little sensors that tell us, you know, roughly what to do. Yeah.
And that's all the technical stuff, and then your mechanics are also coaching the drivers, because if you don't have the line, you won't get the time. That racing line is important.
Yeah, it's very important. We have a driver coach on board as well that does a track walk in the morning, maybe one at lunchtime if they're not listening. You know, yeah, the driver coaches, you know, are quite a big importance to this. The mechanics obviously are very important. You know, because they're the last person really to speak to the driver before he pulls out the pits. But sometimes you tell them till they're blue in the face and they make the same mistakes.
But as long as they're all having fun, hopefully that's the main thing.
Yeah, they're having fun. They moan every now and again and blame everyone else, but you know, it's up to the driver. You know, we can do our bit, and then the final bit is the driver. Yeah.
Dan, thanks ever so much for talking to us, and best of luck for the weekend.
Thank you.
Next out on track, it's the turn of the Sodikart UKC Micromax Academy. Now this class is all about parity of engine and kart chassis, and it's designed for youngsters just 8 to 12 years old. It's a great starting point for them, so let's go and join Jake and see how they've all qualified.
Well, it's going to be Zane Quaker from pole position, James Roberts alongside Rory Armstrong and Emily Cooper together, then Jacob Rump and Bo Rocky Mulvaney, and then Oliver Hipkins will start from P7. Oliver Sibbald has had to withdraw. Up to the first corner, and already a good start. That is the 144, sorry. Zane Quaker already launching forward into the lead. And there in second, James Roberts holding on in front of the young man from Northern Ireland, Rory Armstrong. Is that him in fourth position, I think it is? Yes, because a good start from the 30, I think that is, of Emily Cooper, who has worked her way up into third position.
Yeah, not seen Emily all season. She's not been in my championship, and this is the first time we've seen her in this championship, and she's doing pretty well here on the first lap. To be ahead of Rory Armstrong at any time, Jake, is a feat. So Emily Cooper doing particularly well, but it's Zane Quaker who's just come alive since he joined, or rejoined I should say, Mark Bain's Motorsport at Wombwell earlier in the season. Took the win that day, and he's just been winning ever since basically. So it's Quaker that they have to beat now. Bear in mind that all of these engines are exactly the same. They're pooled engines supplied by the Sodikart Academy, and they're all running on Sodikarts. I think potentially apart from James Roberts. Is Roberts... No, actually, he looks like he is on a Sodikart there,
yes,
James
he does.
Roberts. I'm sure he was down as being on a Haas, but it looks like he's on the Sodikart. There he is.
Yep, indeed, that looks like a Sodi chassis to me as they charge forward up towards the stewardesses once again. Zane Quaker taking full advantage of this opportunity and looking very solid out in front. Emily Cooper in her debut running in third position. Well, you heard it here first. There's quality under that right foot. Emily Cooper, definitely a star and a talent for the future then if she's coming straight out of the blocks in her first weekend and running in the top three. That is definitely a driver we need to be keeping an eye on. Rory Armstrong, P4, Hipkins up to fifth from the start, and then Jacob Rump and Bo Rocky Mulvaney. Fastest lap of the race though, James Roberts, as he tries to chip away at Zane Quaker's advantage.
Bo Rocky Mulvaney and Jacob Rump, they are the least experienced drivers in this field, and they're having their own little battle right at the back of the field.
I have to say as well, that's one heck of a helmet design for Emily Cooper. That's a proper old school lead as well. You've got so many of these designs that are very similar in terms of the shapes and the colours and the chromes and everything, but that's old school from Emily Cooper. Very easy to spot from a distance. So nice work there from the team and from the family to make her easy for us to pick out. We'll never miss her.
Absolutely. Rory Armstrong then doing the chasing. He's the man that comes from Ireland pretty much every single weekend. We've said it before, we'll say it again. That is a commitment and a half to karting.
Yep, could well be the most prominent Northern Irish racing driver to come out of the country since Eddie Irvine, of course, back in the day. So be good to see how Rory Armstrong continues to make his challenge forward. Emily Cooper still running in third position though, not getting flustered by the pressure from Armstrong and Hipkins. They are giving plenty of pressure to her as well. Zane Quaker gets the fastest lap back again, 52.6 for him as he tries to get away from James Roberts. But now Armstrong really starting to build on the attack of Emily Cooper, and this is going to be interesting to see how Emily deals with the situation. Absolutely fine. I mean, obviously Rory Armstrong manages to build up and get the move, but Cooper's not got flustered at all. In fact, if anything, she's been able to get well clear now of Oliver Hipkins as they continue their tussle for third place, these two, Armstrong and Cooper. So Armstrong through. Cooper is still valiant in her ability to try and get back into third place.
Yeah, just managed to put a bit of a gap on Oliver Hipkins there. He's also got a lot of quality himself. Drives the number 13, unlucky for some, not for him obviously. And Zane Quaker now puts in the fastest lap with a 52.529. The time's not quite what they were, I think, earlier in the day, if I remember rightly. The tyres, of course, have done quite a bit so far.
You've got to remember that the numbers on the field here reflects the fact that this class, Micromax, is still very much in its infancy in the United Kingdom. It's not been really racing very long at all. I mean, the first time we ever really spoke about Micromax in Great Britain as a class was back in 2019, so it's not been spoken about very long at all.
That's true.
It's good to see that the talent is really starting to come through, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got my own championship running this year, and we're back here, funny enough, we're back here in a couple of weeks, same circuit, and we're hoping to have a few more than 7, well, I have to say.
I tell you what,
anyway,
these 7 are going to be the ones to watch, though, because they've obviously had another weekend's training in.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think 5 of the drivers that turned up, I mean, Oliver Sibbald came and went on the Saturday, there should have been 8. He's gone home, but 5 of the drivers are from the Micromax UK Championship, obviously.
Yeah, so obviously unfortunate that Sybil had to withdraw, but he is a title contender, so we're sure to see him back again over the course of the season, if nothing else, to try and claim that title. He's a very talented young racer.
He'll certainly be back here in a couple of weeks, no doubt. And Quaker now, look at this, just starting to build the lead, Jake. And indeed, Rowrah Armstrong now starting to get away in third from Cooper, and Cooper now coming under pressure from Oliver Hipkins.
I mean, it's a very impressive debut. You still have to hand it to Cooper. Obviously, the pressure is going to be sky high against drivers who have done this a few weeks now, but for her to come fresh out of the blocks, not just anywhere either, but on this circuit. This is not an easy race circuit for drivers to come in and make their impression on a field of drivers who are already sort of established. I say established, but it's still very new for everybody, this class, of course. But certainly she's on the back foot compared to the other drivers in that top 5.
Yeah, I'd not heard of Emily Cooper before this weekend, to be fair.
But here at Rowrah,
she is, and all right, we know it's a small field, but certainly against the likes of Hipkins and Armstrong, been holding her own early. Here comes Hipkins down the inside now, though.
Is that going to be the move? It is, but he runs wide on the exit, and Cooper holds the ground and gets pitched around. Oh, so easy to get done, but she was doing exactly the right thing. She challenged around the outside, tried to hold the kart to the inside line, but just got squeezed. That wasn't intentional at all from Oliver Hipkins, because they were battling for position. It was very close indeed between them. He just caught the front fairing in the wrong part of the kart. If that had been an inch further back, they both would have made that corner, no problem at all, and that would have been absolutely fine and dandy.
Well, that incident was pretty much the last we saw of any on-track action. We rejoin it on the last lap. Here's Jake Sanson.
Out of Sunny Bend then for the last time. Zane Quaker absolutely dominant in this race, never even looking like he was going to make a mistake through this one. Absolutely marches to the victory. Great job from Zane Quaker, excellent work. James Roberts in a comfortable second place. Third position, he's going to go the way of the 66, the young man from Northern Ireland, Rowrah Armstrong. Excellent job from him. Fourth position behind them, Oliver Hipkins sustaining his place in front of Bo Rocky Mulvaney. Jacob Rubb in 6th place. Emily Cooper will have to fight back strong next time, but we know she can run at the front now. We'll see her back at the front next time without a shadow of a doubt. Zane Quaker, though, with that win, his confidence will be sky high.
You got yourself out in front and you just stayed there. It was quite a victory for you. Did you realise the lead you had the whole way round?
Yeah, I looked behind and then literally I just didn't see anyone.
Well done to you, sir. Huge congratulations. We'll see you at the next round.
Yeah.
Great stuff. See you there. Well done, Zane.
Thank you.
A terrific display from Zane Quaker all weekend here at Rowrah. He holds the lead of the title fight as well over Rowrah Armstrong by 20 points. Bo Rocky Mulvaney and Jacob Rump are there in 3rd and 4th. The drivers behind have only done one round of the championship, and on dropped scores, it still levels out to quite a close title fight. Plenty more still to come from the Sodikart Academy in 2021.
The Sodikart Academy proving to be a great training ground for those young drivers. After the break, we move up a notch with the Junior Road Tax.